everyone. Thank you all for coming, and I'm saying this not just to our on-site audience, but also to our online audience who's watching us on Facebook and YouTube. And today I have the pleasure to introduce our online and on-site artist talk with Pavel Brăila and Berenika Partum. And we are connecting with them via different channels. You can see them on the screen right now. They're going to be introducing themselves in a second. But before we go to that, I'll introduce myself as well. My name is Marta, and I coordinate the exhibitions at Centrala Gallery in Birmingham. And a few more words about Centrala itself. So, Centrala is an art gallery, a music venue, community center. We work on many different levels and many different strands. And we are the only publicly funded art gallery dedicated to Central Eastern European art and culture in the UK. We're very proud of that. And we actively promote Eastern European artists, culture. We make sure the community is well represented here in Birmingham. And we work not only with our local partners here in Birmingham, not only in the UK, but also internationally. And again, we are very proud of that. And actually, because of this international work, we have pleasure to work with Berenika and Pavel. And today we are going to be discussing the newest show at Centrala Space, introducing Undressing the Bride introduction, which is currently on. And if you still haven't seen it, you'll have the opportunity to see it till the end of this week. So please come in, join us at Centrala. The show is in our upstairs gallery. And like I said before, we have the pleasure to connect with Berenika and Pavel. Pavel is a Moldovan contemporary artist who works primarily with communities and through the medium of videos. And Berenika is a Berlin-based curator who's also the curator of Pavel's show, and they're going to talk a bit more about themselves in a second. One more thing before we switch to Berenika and Pavel. If our online audience have any questions, remember you can ask questions on Facebook and YouTube in the chat. I'll be coordinating all of this, so if you have a question during the talk, just pop it in, and when there will be time for questions later, I'll make sure that Berenika and Pavel answer your questions. So yes, we can move on to introductions by Berenika and Pavel.
Thank you very much. I never moderated a talk when I don't, so it's really quite challenging. But yeah, so we are in a special situation. So thank you again, Marta. Before we start our talk with Pavel, I would like also to take the opportunity to thank everyone who made this exhibition and also our talk this evening possible. So in this way, I would like to thank very much Centrala, especially the director also, Alicia Kaczmarek, for inviting Pavel to do the show and for hosting the exhibition, and also for organizing the talk today. And I also want to thank, to say very warm thank you to Marta Marcicka for her support, and also a very special thank you to Richard for his organizational help and the whole team actually in Centrala. So we saw before how much effort it took to set up this technical thing. So yes, very good, and thank you for this. Of course, as always, without help, it wouldn't be possible to do an exhibition, but especially in the current situation where it wasn't even possible for Pavel and me to be in Birmingham, as the COVID-19 restrictions did not allow us, or better say, would make it very complicated to travel from Berlin and Chișinău, where we are based, to the UK. The help and support of the whole team was irreplaceable and very helpful. So thank you. Before we start, I would also like to say to give you some input on which we could also both refer later on in our conversation. Then we would speak about the works who are shown now at Centrala and exchange also some few ideas about the exhibition next year, as this show is the previous show and serves as an introduction, as it says in the title, for the bigger show of Pavel works next year. The conversation, as Marta said, is of course followed by the question and answer session, and we really appreciate to contribute the public. Pavel also already said that probably if Moldova is also watching us, a lot of people will contribute, so we really hope, as it's a flexible event, and we would be very happy that the audience from everywhere you can will participate. Of course, you can put your question already now, or also during the talk in the chat room, and then we will read it after. My name, as it was already said, is Berenika Partum. I am a Polish-German art historian, curator, and culture manager based in Berlin. And I'm working for many culture projects, mostly at the same time. In my practice, I made many time experience with exhibitions where the main focus was lying on Eastern European art and perspective. And I have a huge interest also in art and cultural projects in general, which are done and coming from and or are based in Central and Eastern Europe. And recently also my interest leads me to projects and art from the Caucasus region as well. So this is a short intro about myself, and now I would like to introduce Pavel Brăila to you. Pavel, you can interfere if I'm wrong with saying something wrong.
No, everything is okay. I also want to thank you, the gallery, the Centrala, Alicia, Marta, Richard, everybody who worked for this show and for this really interesting and unusual talk, which is online. For me, it happened already, but not on such scale as we prepared it here today. And I'm also very happy that it happens still without all, in spite of all this pandemic situation and problems and things. And yeah. So thank you very much.
Yes.
I'm very happy. If people are watching us, I would like them to make themselves comfortable. I don't know, take a glass of wine or whatever.
Exactly.
Because yeah, just feel relaxed and yeah, not to be too much stressed.
So a few words about your biography, Pavel. So you were born, as I can say, in 1971, and you live in Chișinău and Berlin. I would like to start shortly from the beginning, as it's interesting to say this. Your way to contemporary art wasn't straightforward. So before you enter an art academy, you made first a degree in engineering, and originally, after that, you also wanted to become a cook and not an artist. And once I read also you can make a living out of art. So
My father, that was my father.
your father, you had already very early on an interest in photography, and in the mid-90s, you have been invited to a summer camp. The name is Chișinău Center for Contemporary Art, and you have been asked to document the activities there. And maybe photography started there, but yesterday when we talked, you already said that also when you have been a child, you also make photographs. So
I have a photo.
That later also when we are talking about the art scene in Moldova, this art camp during that time of the 90s was instrumental in developing and so that during that time you started with performances, and as you said also in the interview, that performance appealed to you as an artist because it was open to multiple meanings and it allowed you to play with different thoughts and ideas. So then in the end of the 90s, 1999, you studied then finally in the Art Academy, in Jan van Eyck Academy in Maastricht. you work in performance, but at the same time, you also begin to work in film.
Yes.
And moreover, also the medium film.
Very important on national TV.
Was produced by artists, yes? So
it was produced by artists,
yeah.
not with professionals from TV. And it was broadcasted on national TV, Moldova 1, every second Saturday in the prime time, like 9:30 in the evening.
Yeah, fantastic. Another project of that kind I mentioned has been shown, or it's still ongoing at the Moldovan television. This time it's Band to Karaoke, a new project. And you invited car drivers at a gas station to sing karaoke. The better the performance, the gasoline price would be paid to become more favorable. So it was also broadcasted, or it is still broadcasted in Moldovan television. So the project is ongoing.
Yes, and people can watch it on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. So it became really popular. And yes, every driver who is passing by this station where we are placed, so they have a chance. So there is a microphone, there is all this karaoke system, and people who just have a little bit of will and courage to take the mic and to sing any song, they can read some letters. But in fact, it's mainly like to interaction, to change a little bit the mood of the guys who are just passing by. So, and then suddenly somebody asks them, why don't you sing a song? And then so the whole atmosphere is just changing, and it's quite interesting for me. Yes,
also very well those two mediums, so this participative thing, performance and film.
Yeah.
Since the mid-90s, you participated in numerous international art exhibitions and film festivals with films, videos, installations, photographies, and performances. You are known for works that are explaining and demonstrating the relations and also interrelations and dependencies of how the geopolitical order of East and West is set, especially the geographical and political order of the small state home country, your home country, Moldova. So I would then also mention few works which are quite important and also some points in your biography. In 2004, you have been invited for the first time to Documenta 11, where you have
2002.
2002.
2002.
Sorry, yes, 2002. Documenta 11, where you have shown the film Shoes for Europe, which is a good example also for your artistic approach, also in the later years. In this film, you was filming a tiny railway station of Ungeni, a small place along the border between Moldova and Romania, where the track width of the Russian train from Moldova needs to be converted to the standard width used in Romania or in Western Europe. And you work clandestinely, as it is forbidden to film in Moldova.
It was, we filmed it, yes, illegally.
It was filmed illegally?
No, not illegally, but clandestinely. So
yes.
We are not allowed, but so in the last second, we asked a guy and he just opened us the gate. And yeah, it was quite an experience. That was really...
So you haven't asked before for permission?
No, it was really difficult because in that time, to get the permission, you need to ask. So the Minister of Culture, had to contact Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Internal Affairs, Ministry of Transport, Ministry of whatever. So it was like 5 ministries, and to get the answer, it would last forever. And everybody whom I was talking, and especially about railway station, because it was just at the beginning of independence of Republic of Moldova, but still the railway stations at the borders, they were always considered like strategic points. And when I was coming to the director of the station and asked, look, we want to film how it's happening, all this process, they said, look, you know, in Russia, they have missiles, rockets, but we have here this train station, which is international and which is very strategic, and nobody can film until so. And that was the situation. But in the last second, like few hours before, we found a way how we could come and film. And yeah, We were pretending that we are filming the documentary for the next generation of those guys who are changing the wheels of the trains. So that was the official legend.
So the film documented the transition of the train from east to west.
Yeah, every train that comes into the station in Moldova and goes outside, which is the former territory of Soviet Union. So because of this difference of 9 millimeters.
Yes.
This
and it has been also shown this enormous manpower needed to complete.
Yes, because the station was built in so beforehand, people were just changing the trains. They would come to the border and then would take another train. But in 60s, they built this transposition station where the whole train together with passengers is lifted up, and they have all this process which takes like 40 minutes, almost 1 hour. But still the whole process with the custom control, with the passport control, it takes like 2 or 3 hours. And this is kind of the preparation before of leaving the ex-USSR or entering the ex-USSR territory. So it's kind of, adaptation moments.
And you once
levitation.
You once said about the film that, so it was, of course, symbolically stood for this adaptation process. And you once said that an adaptation process is required in order to place yourself then on the Western track, which also shows, yes, your artistic approach about. In 2017, I switched a little bit because this is the second time when you appeared on Documenta. You have been invited a second time to Documenta 14 then, and presented your project, The Ship, where a public bus was transformed into a moving sculpture presented in Kassel. So the ship, where the side windows of the bus were filled with water, circulated, or the bus circulated daily from 7 to 8 p.m. during all 100 days of the exhibition. And the ship also presented a changing world mediated by the water of the Aegean Sea, neither discriminating nor excluding any passengers, so all can come in and come out from the bus. All were welcomed, and the ship reminded us about that we are all together adrift on an ocean of instability, as it has been said. So this work was the second work in Documenta 11, and you have been then, or not then, but you have been before an artist in residency program as well, the first one in 2001 from Kulturkontakt in Vienna. And then in 2007, you have been in Berlin on the artist in residency of DAAD.
2005. 2005.
Or I read, okay, so then.
The show in Neue National Gallery was in 2007.
It was before. Yes, of course. So you have to complete the artist in residency, and then after you are showing your film. And you presented then during that, or after the program, your monumental installation Baron's Hill in the Neue Nationalgalerie, in the new National Gallery, in the building of Mies van der Rohe in Berlin. And when somebody don't know the building, so it's really a huge building full of glass, surrounded or made by glass. So it was a 6-channel video installation with which you was taking advantage of the transparency of Mies van der Rohe's architecture and make the work visually and audibly accessible to visitors outside the building.
Yes, because we put, as the building is transparent, and by the way, it was the last building erected by Mies van der Rohe. The last building.
Yes, exactly.
And so because all the walls are transparent, so we decided to have the show running 24 hours. And even when the gallery is closed, we also installed the sound outside, and people who are passing by, they could still watch the video. And enjoy the work and listen and watch the
And
piece.
the filmwork was about the newly emerging architecture, this grandiose architecture actually of Sinti and Roma who are living in Moldova.
Yes, in Soroca, from the city of Soroca.
In 2014, then you have been invited to take part in Manifesta 10 in St. Petersburg, and you did a lot of performances, who continues also your interest in East versus West, let's say. And in the last years, you were working on projects which, or not in the last years, but maybe also it started earlier, but there is also a main focus in your work on projects which record things that are threatening to vanish and document the phenomenon of disappearance of markers of cultural identity, and at the same time preserves a part of these for the future. Which means that I would give you two examples of this, because then it leads us to the works that we are having now on view on Centrala. For example, in the year 2011, and then correct me as well if I'm wrong, you produced the film Chișinău, City Difficult to Pronounce.
Correct.
It's a 3-channel video installation. You was doing a research then in National Archive and discovered that after 1986, there was no more documentation about the city and the country in general.
Yes, it was for me. For me, it was really strange because I was working in 2007. I was working on another project and I was looking for some material from 90s. So I was really interested to find some documentation about 90s. And then when I came, so the director of the archive said, until now we are good friends. Her name is Paulina. And she said, look, guy, after 1986, there is no 1 meter of the film, no 1 second of the video, no 1 frame, no 1 photo about the city. Because before 96, so the city, so it was a program of the archive paid by the state, where they were documenting systematically the city, the country, everything, how it is developing. And until the 1986, so it was really, so if you enter in the archive, everything is so well organized that you can find everything, and it's really beautifully arranged and beautifully shot, and like every event, every new building, streets, cinemas, everything, you know, and and you feel, if you go through all archive, like it started after the Second World War, like in 1945, you could see the development of the metropole. But after 86, you know, and I started to watch in 2007, so it was already kind of almost 30 years. And I said, so if somebody like in the future would like to discover what is going on about the city, how it is developed, they discover nothing. It's like the city doesn't exist.
Yes.
And then I said, so it took me 2 years to realize, and then one day, so it was a click. Yeah, I watched the film, the Berlin, City of the Großstadt. And then for me, it came, and so it was like inspiration moment, yeah. And,
you did this film inspired by
Walter
Metropolis.
Yeah.
Yes, so you have been following then the life of Chișinău throughout 1 year, which in the end became at the same time this urban diary and a historical filmic essay.
And at the same time, so I was really interested to show the normal life, the chronics, without stressing on the main street or main events or something, just chronics of the daily life. And at the same time became like a document, an archive document. And yeah, I'm really happy. And now I'm working on another project, which I've tried to document entire Moldova, which is called Odyssey MD 2020.
And so another project that I wanted also to mention before we finally then start to talk about the works, being invited to propose a concept for the first for the first ever national pavilion at the last World Expo in Milano, yes. 2015. You took the opportunity to film a legendary dance band, Jock, or
Zhok. It's
Zhok,
called Zhok. Yes.
Zhok.
Yeah.
Which was very famous during Soviet time, but went completely forgotten after USSR collapsed. And also the band itself was founded in 1945, and it was the first professional filming that you did, about this band.
Yep.
So this leads us actually. So this was this example that your artistic approach to record things that are threatening to vanish, or document also the phenomenon of disappearance. And now I would like to stop here to stop with the introduction and to start to talk about these two works that you are showing at Centrala now. So you are presenting two works. One is a relic from the Soviet era. As we can see, a mural assembled of 14 individual panels.
Would be nice if you show it, because
Yes, if I
on one of the camera. Oh, it's not possible. Okay.
Yes, I think that people then who are in the space, they have to go upstairs as they're sitting.
So it's a small suspense.
Yeah. Maybe I will find then in the meantime, when we are talking, I will then find the file on my computer. So the mural itself, let's say that it's assembled out of 14 individual panels hung in a pioneer camp near Chișinău, your hometown, and that you found and sent to Birmingham. So you brought this post-Soviet relic into a new context. And another piece is the film Undressing the Bride, which is a documentation of one moment of a wedding in a wedding ceremony. And I would start to ask you about the mural. So I would like to ask you, how did you come across this mural, and how did you find it? And what does this actually mean to you in terms of using this piece in your artistic practice?
So as I said, that a few years ago, I started to document the entire country. So the project is called Odyssey MD 2020. Because after we finished Chișinău, so we really realized together with my cameraman that it would be really interesting to film the whole country, because now we are having, so as probably most of the people know, that Moldova is a very tiny country with very small economy, and in many, if you want to find out some details about Moldova, you discover that this is one of the poorest countries in Europe, or maybe the poorest. And one of the biggest, I don't know, exodus of people, it started not immediately after Soviet Union, but for the last 20 years, the population is getting smaller and smaller. People are living wherever, and there are two ways: either they go east to Russia, or they go west to Italy, Spain, France, Portugal, Ireland, Germany, now Austria, the same. So, and most of the places, there are a lot of villages which are abandoned already, but you can see, that like, the country is like a body, and the population, its population is like the main blood system. And when people are living, so you see that this organism, the country, is getting weaker and weaker. And if you travel through Moldova, you really can feel that the country, somehow is disappearing somehow, because there are a lot of villages which there are many villages which have no one citizen, so no one inhabitant already. This is already, at the beginning, it was like kind of every time you could see on the news, so there is one village which the last man or woman have died. But now you could see that even in the small towns, many kindergarten are getting closed, schools are getting closed, just because there is no pupils and there are no kids or children to go there. And for me also, beside the exodus of the population, I really see how disappears the architectural landscape, because we have still, in the countryside, you could find buildings from 18th century, 19th century. And yeah, during the Soviet time, it was built quite a lot of like modern Soviet socialist modernist building, which now, because they were placed in very nice locations, so the gentrification goes on, so it happens everywhere. And these people are demolished or adjusted to a new malls, or somehow main events in Moldova is wedding, which we will talk a bit later. So they are transformed into the attraction points, like either it is big hall for organizing events like parties, or malls, shopping malls, which are or buildings, blocks for people. So like in Chișinău, you can feel it now. Yeah, I would never think that in the center of the city, which was like one floor building quarter, now you have like 16 floor buildings. And of course, yeah, and you see how the horizon is disappearing, because before, so you could go everywhere and you have like, because Chișinău is quite hilly city, and if you're on top of the hill, you could see the horizon far away. And now you have blocks all over, and this really, it a little bit, it irritates me, but you cannot change anything. And the only thing what I want to do, and at least to keep some images, or at least some buildings or streets, how they looked, at least how they are looking now, but you could get the picture how they have been looking before, and what was the trend at that time. Yeah, because for me, it's like there are many artists and many scientists, anthropologists, which are collecting the languages which are disappearing. And for me, it's something like this, it's like a collection of small pieces which have been sometimes really nice, and now you could somehow see how they would look like, or imagine how they would look like.
And is it in a sense that you record just this moment of disappearance, or are you seeing it also a little bit in a nostalgic way?
For me, it's a both way, because you know how it was looking like, and now, because for example, one of the biggest example in the city now, and the biggest problem for many of us, is the Republican Stadium, which was really a nice stadium built in 50s. It was in the center of the city. It was for 20,000 people. All the football games were played there. People were enjoying it. And the funny thing is that I was born in the center of the city, and it was like few street blocks away from this stadium. And I remember, so I was spending a lot of time. I was playing football there. I was playing tennis, ice hockey. And now it's just, because they demolished, they were pretending, it was like in 2000, so they pretended to refurbish it, because Moldova was already part of UEFA and FIFA, and they needed to change the pitch and to have like kind of European standard. But what they did, and probably they had the idea before, they will demolish it, they build the stadium somewhere outside, and they will build some, very fancy blocks. And now it is just, just abandoned place, completely demolished, and it's like a huge wild nature, of course, took it over. And because it was demolished, I think in 2004 or 2007, this I am not sure, but you have, it's like 15 years, and you have trees 15 years old, built like in the center of the pitch. You don't feel anymore it's a pitch. But in 2011, when I was shooting the stadium, when I was shooting the film about Chișinău, you could see still the remains of the stadium, because it's a Stalinist architecture, very pompous, with sculptures everywhere and things and fresks. And now you cannot see. You have like wild gangs of dogs going there. It's last time when I was, it wasn't so safe, but it's like in the wild forest. It's really funny and strange and sad.
How is the society actually refers to this post-Soviet symbols? So what roots actually means to them, and what is it, or what does it mean to you?
there are always few gangs, you know. We have guys who suffered from the Soviet time and they want to demolish everything and to clean and to make it something new. And there is a group of activists. I'm part of those groups. I even did a performance there, so that we still want to keep this place, at least the remains of it, to keep it, and because it's still part of our history, and it's still, if you look from the architectural point of view, from historical point of view, from anthropological point of view, it is still a very nice and important spot that has to be kept. Yes. Because the architecture which appears now, you know, it has no face. It's just metals and glass structures, which are very often without windows, just to collect people inside and make them buy something. And one of the last stories about the stadium is that United States Embassy wants to enlarge their embassy, and they need, but it's huge. It's, you know, it's like one street block, like I don't know how many thousands of square meters there. I think it's 7,000 square meters. Wow. And yeah, they want to extend they're kind of interested in building a new embassy, and apparently it's going to be one of the biggest embassy of United States in Eastern Europe. And that's what we see. And because the government have no money, the government doesn't have money to rebuild the stadium, they pretend that they have to find a solution and to give somebody this place and to make this place nicer. And if the embassy will appear there, of course, it's going to be really strange, because embassy in the center of the city, it means a lot of restrictions, and especially just, you know, you always have to make U-turns and all this kind of security shit and things. And if I know, for me, you know, that I know how it was looking before, it was super nice place. It was a lot of groups for children, for youth, for young people, where you could come and train. Of course, at the former time, it was everything for free. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't exist, such term. But I really still think that this place could be refurbished and restored, and it has to be a stadium then. There are many opinions. One of the opinions that let's build a park there. Okay. Like it happened in Berlin with the former airport.
Pavel, the mural that is shown at Centrala.
It's strange. Let's find the picture and show it, because people who are watching us, for them, you know, we are speaking like.
You can start. So you find this mural in the pioneer camp, which which is situated near your hometown, Chișinău. And actually, there is nothing known about the artists, normally, or as I understood, so normally the artists has been no-named who were doing it, as it was actually made for the public space and for the public. So it was no authorship in these pieces, in these propagandistic pieces that have been made in the Soviet times. And now I will look for the picture.
I'm also looking for the picture. I think I have it somewhere, because you sent it to me, and I think it was done by Richard, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry for a small pause, but I really, before I start to speak about this, I really want that I have it. I'll send it to my computer. Save it.
Because the mural, yes, it's of course unmistakably shows propagandistic, typical Soviet era motives.
No, in fact, in former time, you know, every organization, like it could have been a kindergarten, a school, a club, or an art, a pioneer camp, a cinema, they always had in the staff a painter who makes the announcements. Like in cinema, they would make all the announcements. You remember in former time, they were painted. All the cinema posters, they were painted, really. And especially in such organizations like Pioneer Camp or whatever state organization, they always would need to have a painter who would make announcements. And such painters, they were professionally trained. And I think the attitude of themselves to such kind of, because they had to do like portraits of Lenin, they've done hundreds of them per year. Not per year, but maybe, yeah. In their life, they would do a lot of them. Yes, this is the original picture in the pioneer camp. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so would you like to say something? So as I see it, yeah, so as I said, unmistakably, it shows propagandistic typical features of Soviet era. So like many of these pieces, it's monumentality, this monumentality that you see. So you have to look up often, as always, but here, you have also this Moldovan specificity. So it's a colorful visual narrative, and Moldova was once seen as the vineyard of the Soviet Union. This is then represents actually the prosperity and this time of the golden Moldovan time.
Yeah, it was called Sunny Moldova all the time, Solnечная Moldavia. And as Moldova until now, it's still agricultural country, so the main industry is agriculture. And you can see all these fields and the grapes and the woman with quite impressive breasts, a beautiful lady holding the grape. And what you see, you also see, because I think that the painter, the artist who made it, it was from the city, because you see, for example, here you see few elements, few buildings from the city. So you could see the memorial of the Second World War. You see the Central Arc, Victory Arc, small one, not like in Paris, but yeah, very, very small one. You see the parliament. You see the main. For me, this is really strange, because you see, you have because during Soviet time, the religion was forbidden. And he painted the central cathedral, but in former time, so it was a museum of art, but still it's a central cathedral in the center of the city. But he put a cross. It's very tiny. You have to really look very carefully. But I think he made it. It was an improvisation and kind of rebellion act to make something like this. And you see also the TV tower. So that gives me the idea that he was from the city for sure. But still, he, with colors and with perspective, he showed that Moldova is like the land of agriculture, the land of grapes, the land of wine, of fruits, and so on.
Of course, so
and sun, and very important, sun, because you see the sun in the center on this red flag. For me, this is also really beautiful moment how he played with the red flag, because it's a kind of Japanese or Chinese flag, and then you have a sun in the center of it instead of this hammer and how is it called? On the Soviet flag, it was Serp и Молот. This, agricultural, tool. And then instead of this, he put the sun. And this is, kind of, I think he was quite, an anti-socialist character, that's for sure. It's, you could see small details that speaks about like small rebellion in his attitude. But from one side, you see it's a really propagandistic
and
mural.
I would like to ask you, so how is it seen actually? So because all murals in this way have a political meaning. So how is it seen nowadays in Moldova? So what would you say?
You speak about propaganda, or you speak about Soviet?
Yes, about this propaganda or these kind of pieces.
You speak regarding the works that have been made during Soviet time. You know, they are vanishing because, for example, a few years ago, 2 years ago, I think we had the Palace of Syndicates, of worker syndicates, which was a beautiful building in very nice area. And then it was demolished, and they had a really nice mosaic, really beautiful mosaic made by famous artist who is not alive, of course, nowadays. And then it was a scandal. So the building was privatized. Half of it was demolished, but they said that they will preserve, because so this group of activists, we started to write on Facebook, and it was some reportage on TV. And the owners of this building, so they said, okay, they will preserve it somehow, because one of the proposal was to collect all these beautiful mosaics from former time and put it in public places outside, and to build a park of those things, of those murals. And that somehow they said yes, because they didn't dare to destroy the mosaic, because it was like on one wall of the building. It was huge, probably it was like 50 meters by 20 or something.
Yes.
And in one night it was just demolished and it disappeared, and the whole the subject was already.
It would also interest me. So, as in your biography that we spoke about. So, as you said, so you are mainly or film artist, video artist, but also a performer mainly. And so, how this mural, this installation refers to your whole work. So, have you done these pieces before? That
No, I never. I used, for example, because as I was telling already about the stadium, may I share the screen?
Yes, you can, of course. So.
Yeah, because I will show also, because I did a few years ago a show in Vienna, and so this is the bas-reliefs from one of the building of this stadium, which was a school of Olympic reserves. Republican School of Olympic Reserves. By the way, I was training there because I was busy with the freestyle fighting. So I know this building from my childhood, maybe from when I was a teenager. And those fresks, they still exist, those bas-reliefs.
Yes.
And I just wanted, so my idea, because the building is for sure, it's going to be destroyed, and we still don't know what will be erected instead of it, but at least to save those, because they're quite big and they're like in diameter of 1 meter. Unfortunately, I don't have the picture of the building, but I have the picture of those bas-reliefs. And for me, so I at least to take a picture and to store them, because ideally would be like I would take them out somehow, but it's quite, because they're quite high, they're quite big, you need a very serious technique and specialist to take it out without damaging them, because if you look carefully, they are built from pieces. I don't know how they made it, but they're still beautiful. And and that was my first thing. So once I also I bought disco light from 80s from one of the clubs of the former hotel, socialist modernist building from the hotel. And that was, but still, so I still didn't find a way and a project, a possibility.
And when we when we shortly then jump to the area of these pieces that we have in Centrala, so this pioneer camp. So should we share now some videos that you recorded, because actually
yes, please, yes, of course,
that you went there and recorded this.
As I was saying, so I was working, I'm still working on Odyssey, on my film, which is called Odyssey MD 2020. MD 2020 is the postcode of the center of the city. It's in the center of the city. And for me, so I was recording everything, and then we discovered this abandoned place because it's a pioneer camp, which is in the middle of the forest. It's probably like 60 kilometers from the city, 50, 60 kilometers from the city, and it's in the forest. And when I discovered it, I was really, so it's still, as I told you before, I spent a lot of time in my childhood. I spent in pioneer camp, and every pioneer camp for me, of course, it brings memories. But when I saw those buildings, because those murals, I immediately understood that if I don't take them, they will disappear. They will be demolished, and nobody will give a damn about them. And at that time, so I knew that I wanted them to keep somehow. And then when appeared this idea with Centrala, it was 1 year later, and then immediately I said, okay, now I have the possibility to show them, not only to. And then I discussed with the manager, the housekeeper, let's say, of this place, who is just because slowly this place is demolished, and they are waiting for the moment for the investor probably who would come and build I don't know, some high-end villas or something, because it's really beautiful. It's in the forest, far away from noise, in the center of the nature. And some guys who have possibility, maybe they will have some nice time too there. Just 1 second.
It was actually very big. So how many?
Hello? It's not working.
Maybe, let's show a little bit the video, and then maybe some people have also, because I think we are talking quite a lot, and maybe people from the audience already want to ask.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, great. I think we're quite short on time, so it would be great if you can move to a couple of questions, if you're okay with that, because I think it's 7 already, and I have a few questions ready for you. I was looking at YouTube and Facebook. I don't think we have any from the audience, but I still have some prepared. So if you're happy, just to share a few thoughts about those things. So we discussed the mural and the video, which is being shown on the opposite side of the gallery, is about weddings, as the title says, Undressing the Bride Introduction. So I wanted to ask, what is the significance of the wedding in Moldovan culture? Because unfortunately, all the cultures from, let's say, east of the Europe are not very well recognized in the UK. So I think it would be great if you can just tell us a few more words about why especially the ceremony of wedding is so important.
The wedding is one of the most important events, which is still a huge tradition, and it's respected, and especially because Moldova, it's a agricultural country. We have only one city, so the main city is the capital, Chișinău. There is one city in the north, which is Belz, but mainly this country is inhabited by the people from countryside, and still like in countryside from the former time, you have 3 main events. You have the birthday, and then you have the wedding, then you have when the baby is born, how you call it? Baptizing, when you baptize the baby, and then you have a death.
Baptism.
And then you have the death. And these are 3 events where you can invite all your relatives. And these are like one of the important meetings where all the relatives come together. And this is also an opportunity for everybody to visit, because very often the bride is from one side, the groom, the bride is from one village, the groom from another village or from another city. And in this way, you make your relatives meet together, come together. In the recent days, of course, so the wedding is very important. Probably it's much more important for parents than young for young generation, because for me, for example, when I met my wife, so we were not married for 5 years, and parents from both sides said, guys, what are you doing to us? Let's make a wedding, let's make it officially, and let make us happy. And then, in fact, what we did our wedding for parents, and we tried to make it more or less in a traditional way. I don't regret. It was really nice, beautiful party for all my friends and relatives. But of course, now weddings are transforming somehow in kind of very representative events, because people want to show that they're still happy, they're rich, and they can afford to make a really beautiful and rich wedding. There are a lot of stories about weddings. Many people are going to take a loan in the bank to organize their weddings. And another side of contemporary wedding nowadays, because as it is very important tradition, people want to do it, but at the same time, very often they do the weddings and they leave the country, because the youngsters, like for example, in this case, this is my cousin, Sergey, and his wife. And immediately after the wedding, they left the country. And that was one of the points which is now, for me, I'm very many youngsters, like I have friends who are collecting money for several years only to make the wedding. And they are going abroad, so they're working as gastarbeiters, only to make this wedding. And to show, I don't know what is in the idea, but in fact, they want to somehow to make it happen for themselves, for their friends, for relatives, and probably for parents as well.
And Pavel, does this ceremony has worked or has been a tradition also at the Soviet times? And
Everywhere, every time. From my grandparents did the same, because for example, the ceremony of undressing the bride, this is the moment when the bride, this is at the end of the party, because party lasts like one night, depends how it is organized, but not less than 6 or 8 or 10 hours. It's a huge event. It's an event that happens, like people are preparing for a party for like 24 hours party, and you have several dishes, several tables, so you have a whole program of dancing, of entertainment. Now you have really crazy events.
And are you now thinking that these customs are threatened with extinction? So how?
First of all, because it's pandemic, and first of all, it's not allowed. And as we discussed about this, that all the people who are involved in the, let's say, ceremony industries, like filmmakers, hairdressers, dress designers, most of them are jobless now. There are no weddings and nothing happens. So, and this is, and apparently what happens now is all this pandemic. So probably it's one of the events that, like cinema, cinema is closed. All the cinemas are closed, and cinemas are under big threat. But luckily we have Netflix, and somehow people go online. To make a live event online, this is quite difficult.
And now I would like to link this. I'm asking again whether you can hear me, because I think the mic sometimes goes a bit funny, but if you can just say whether you...
Well.
Okay, so I wanted to ask also about the connection. That I think is question more from the curatorial side. Where is the idea of combining this mural with the videos coming from? And I think that's more question to the curator of the show, actually. If you can, Berenika, tell us more about this connection between those two pieces, because obviously they correspond with each other in a very interesting way.
Yes, so these two pieces are somehow, so Pavel's work cannot be understood without Moldova or the Moldovan culture, and also the problematic of disappearance of cultural values and historical symbols. And this is what actually this piece stands for, and why actually I think that Pavel chooses, because it was his choice to put these two works on an exhibition, as they represent in a very strong way these two very strong parts which stands actually for the identity of Moldovan culture. On one hand, we have the mural, which represents, of course, the post-Soviet history of Moldova. And on the other hand, we have the video, which represents tradition. And these two parts are actually really somehow threatened with extinction, as Pavel describes before, in a way how these post-Soviet symbols are disappearing or were damaging in terms of this modernization process. And also this tradition is somehow, yes, disappearing. And so all these customs and also historical symbols or political symbols, even if they are propagandistic ones, are part of the identity of Moldova. And if this identity is missing, there is then, yeah, no country or no nation, let's say. And this is how, yeah, it could be understood. And that's why these two pieces actually has a very strong connection, as they represent exactly these two parts and aspects.
Yeah, and they also correspond to each other in the gallery space, because they are literally opposite each other. So you can look at one and then move to the other, and they just like mirror images, really. And now I think it's the time to ask our public here at Centrala whether they have any questions. So if you have any questions, please come closer to the microphone, because otherwise Berenika and Pavel won't hear you. All right. There will be a question.
Yeah.
So I came with wonderful some memories and images from the wedding performance for Stravinsky piece of music operatic project here in Birmingham. Then I was reading in original, in Russian language, poems, just like poems, folk authentic songs that are for the any minutes, like the special script. So I would like to know if you have any people which are remember, and they are collecting what is still in memories of society from old tradition. Here I see it was maybe special, made in a pantomimic way, that there is no maybe music, but no singing. People are silent.
No, it's just the video without sound now, but there is a music, and this song, the song which is played for this ritual, it's a special song which comes from probably from 19th century, and the song is addressed to the bride. And in this song, because it's a very sad song, and it goes on and on until this, you see, because this is the moment when the old relatives who came, they give their gifts and the presents for the family. And you see, because you have like sets of pots, sets of everything which you need to start a family. But the song goes, like it's a very old song, and it's called Yad Smireasa Ziua Bună. So say goodbye,
Moment.
dear bride, say goodbye. And it goes like it's kind of mantra, and it's kind of mantra, and it goes like, say hello to your flowers that you've been meeting every morning, say hello to your bed, say hello to your cats, say hello to your dog, say hello to your mama, say hello to your friends, say hello to your garden, and say goodbye, not hello, but say goodbye to your garden. And it goes on, and it's gone. It is, if you listen to it, it is really sad. And this is the moment, in fact, when the parents especially in the former time, it's the moment when parents will not see anymore the girl, because very often the bride would go with husband and they very often would not see her anymore. So she became like from this song, she becomes like the property of a new man and a new life, and everything what happened before, you just can't forget about it. Just say goodbye and goodbye forever. But I'm sure that there are historians and there are in different fields, there are people who are collecting. With music, I'm sure that we have specialists which are collecting, especially we have some folk bands which are collecting. Until now, they go from village to village and they're collecting. There are a lot of records which are still preserved, I hope, for the future generations.
We need to stop here so I can ask someone else from the audience, because we are very limited by the time. But thank you for your question. Anyone else, maybe? All right, there is another one.
Hello. First of all, thank you for doing this talk. It's been very interesting. I was wondering, Pavel, where do you become? How does something pull you to explore it further? Whether that might be, the mural or video or performance. What kind of draws you towards making a new piece of work?
Probably, that.
Can we just stop share screen so we can look at you?
Hello,
I think that would be easier.
You see me or you don't see me?
No, we don't see you now. We can't see you now.
Okay. Just switch. Berenika, you just have to stop the screen sharing.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you.
Hello. From 1999, since I became a student of Jan van Eyck Academy, I've been living for, I don't know, since then I'm a Westerner. And I was traveling, and until, I think, 2004, I spent most of my time in the West. And since I became there, because for me as a kid, pupil, then student, in Soviet time, you always didn't have any dreams. You had dreams, but you know that this is very unrealistic that you will ever travel outside the Soviet Union. And in your dream, in my head, I always had the idea that in the West, everybody is happy, everybody is rich, and everybody is, so the life there is completely different. It's without problems, something like this. Since I became a student, so you realize that you have absolutely the same problems, and sometimes, and the values which I was used to, so you never pay attention to them. And since I started already to have a very clear examples of the Western life, and then you started to realize and to say, okay, guys. And yeah, in fact, I started to love my country much more when I was abroad. When you miss it, then you realize what you have and what you are missing and what is really important for you and what is really important in this country, and which is, you have completely different, of course, we are humans are everywhere the same, but you have different culture, different traditions, and different things which are really important, and people have maybe somehow, which I started to love and to appreciate and to understand that this is very important and this has to be.
Thank you, Pavel. We have one more question from YouTube. If we can have 5 more minutes.
Yes.
So the question from Anya. Is there any connection between the undressing the bride and Max Ernst's The Robbing of the Bride, which shows the stages of marriage ceremony and their symbolic meaning for the bride too?
Yeah, because I was
historian
looking
question.
Yes, exactly. And also to Marcel Duchamp with with undressing the bride of his glass piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think the time is running out, unfortunately. But I think we've had good conversation, mixing all the questions from the space and from online as well, and from you, Berenika. So I think that was a nice session. And thank you all for coming. Thank you all for joining us online. And many thanks to Berenika and Pavel for joining in and answering questions and preparing for the talk and being with us. unfortunately online, not in person, but in the future, for the future show, which is going to happen last year, hopefully we'll be seeing each other in person, so we can have another talk, but in much better, happier circumstances. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yes?
Mark, may I ask you, for people who are online, because I see we have like 4,000, on the Facebook we have like 4,000 viewers now, at least for 1 minute to put the sound of the video, just to give an impression, yeah. Or we can run whatever, we can, because it's not long, at least for 5 minutes, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
We need to put the sound up.
Yes, we know.